What do you think about hunger in Gen Z? Like, do you think it has gone down? Do you feel like it's the same? Like, I think you had a lot more people than I do.
I don't want to piss them off.
But no,
here's my most honest comment that I'll give you. If I had a daughter and she wanted to work in Pakistan.
So when I was graduating, तो मेरे पास तो कोई भी नहीं था जो मैं बता सकता था कि यार तुम ये सॉफ्टवेयर पढ़ लो तो जो है ना कुछ बन जाएगा ज़िंदगी में. So it's like the whole purpose of the channel is to just be that person for somebody else. ठीक है? So you got like
amazing.
those people listening to you. Yeah. Okay, so मैं तो literally software engineering पे by stroke of luck था. मैं like by degree I'm not a software engineer. ठीक है? Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the 10th episode of the Ehmad Zubair Show. Show पे हमेशा हमारी ये थीम रही है कि we try to bring people who've actually done real world work and have had real world impact, and for that and उसी spirit को follow करते हुए we've got a powerhouse today with us and like she's done amazing work. अगर मैं मतलब if I just skim through her CV you'll see like all the big names. जब भी वो अपनी ज़बरदस्त एक crazy growth के phase से गुजर रहे थे, she has been a very active part of it. And I'm personally really excited about this podcast. And yeah, we'll just hear it from herself. So, Assalamu alaikum, Fatima.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I am very excited to be here.
Zabardast. Great. अच्छा मुझे बताएं. Like I think when I was doing my research, so one thing that came up frequently was execution. ठीक है मतलब कि like on ground, real in the trenches, sleeves ऊपर करके. On the ground, you were doing it all along, right? So can you speak to me about where does that come from? मतलब कि I heard that you started with finance and then you just change your career towards execution. So ये execution वाला part, when did you find out that you were great at it?
So I did not find out I was great at it. I was told by somebody that I was great at it. Will always be thankful to him. His name is Khattab. I joined his company and I said, I'd like to do finance. And he put me in finance for a bit and then he gave me some other assignments and he said, you're great at operations. And I said, no way. I am not doing operations. I'm going to do finance. I'm going to earn a lot of money and that's what I want to do. And he said, give it a try. He said that I like how your brain works when it comes to operations. Actually, he'd given me two things. He said, you'd be excellent at sales and you'll be excellent at operations. So either of the two is going to be your career. And I resisted it for a while, but then he gave me certain assignments that were me on the ground, just doing stuff. And at that time, tech wasn't very big. So I was manually doing a lot of logistics work on the ground, standing in the sun for like 18 hours a day, maybe sometimes. I was doing event logistics and I really enjoyed it. I absolutely loved it. I don't think I could ever go back to making PowerPoint presentations or being on Excel. Right. And my current team, when they see this, will laugh because I tell them, guys, anything but PowerPoint slides. Right. I cannot. I just cannot.
Right. So but you stumbled upon it by chance and then somebody told you and then it kind of became a virtuous cycle that way, right?
I think not even by chance. I think like somebody who really did appreciate what I was able to do and like push me to it. To a point where I was a bit annoyed as well. I used to think operations was like, you know, whatever, and finance was up here, right? Like growing up, I'd heard finance makes a lot of money. I'm sorry, but finance still makes you a lot of money. But I think finance is all about a different kind of brain. And I think I have a different kind of brain that goes in, that wants to problem solve and do it right away. And I don't know how he saw it, but I'm forever grateful to him that he saw it so that I am where I am now.
Great. So just to put things a little bit in context, okay? So the audience that we have right now, 60% of them are from 18 to 24. ठीक है?
Yeah, so young.
So मुझे बताएं कि for somebody who probably stumbles upon you या फिर who looks at this podcast and probably wants to be like you, what are kind of the signs that they need to look out for in that age bracket? कि यार अगर ये signs है ना मेरी ज़िंदगी में मेरी life में ये habits है मेरी, then I can be somebody like Fatima someday.
Okay, first,
in some decade.
Just this morning, my mom said somebody met her and said, oh, I want to be like Fatima. And my mom said, do not be like Fatima. So this is for her saying, please don't be like me. But I think I was always very competitive as a child. I started sports early. So I was always in some sports or the other. Like I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a generalist when it comes to my career. So I was a generalist when it came to sports as well. I think I started riding horses. I gave tennis a shot. Wasn't too good. I was in athletics, so I won a lot. Athletics is like all these races and stuff. So I think from school, anything extracurricular, I was really interested in, whether it was sports, whether it was going to a play, whether it's there. And I always wanted to shine, right? I wanted to like be a star. And I was very upset when I lost. And I'm also very upset when the Pakistan cricket team loses. At this age as well, I cry when they lose. And I cried a lot during the World Cup. But I think to be like me, there's two things. One, find people that you admire and get them as mentors and then listen to them. Don't be closed off.
Achha,
right?
Just for the sake of getting advice nahi le rahe aap, right?
Yes. And the second thing is work really hard. Like whatever I had, I just worked really hard. I wanted to work 10x harder than anyone else. And I did that because I wanted to be honest to the work. So one of the advice that I give people is, do not look at the people in your company. Don't look at what role you're at. Just be honest to the work. You get paid to work.
Right.
Put in that hard work because it will eventually come to light and help you. But I think my ethics when it came to work was I was the first one in, last one out. In most of my jobs, I got a bit complacent in some of them, but like first one in, last one out, disciplined enough to be there, disciplined enough to ask for more work when my work was done, and very curious. I ask 100,000 questions. I will ask that question. I got the award for the best question asked at MIT after the year. One of the speakers said that she has the most interesting questions. Some of my professors said that she asks a lot of interesting questions. So I'm very curious. So be curious and be very open to everything, because I don't think there's any, except for engineering, I think I've tried to do everything within a company, and I've had different careers. And you can know what you want to be when you grow up. You're starting out, you're like, okay, I want this, I want that. That's good to know. Right. But if you're too stuck by it, you might have a problem. So stick to being open to feedback and pivoting your life. I don't say career.
That's quite a lot. So I'd want to unpack that, right?
Yes.
So number one, so aapne kya hai ki it's very important to find a mentor.
Yes.
And then ask them for advice and then listen to them. तो कैसे ढूंढे mentor? अगर मैं एक 24-year-old just graduated out of a university or but just got an average job, अब मुझे क्या करना है?
Look, mentor does not have to be somebody that has the best job. Mentor has to be somebody that you admire. So it could be somebody in your family that's doing really well. It could be your friend's brother that's doing
probably in an unrelated field as well, right?
The field doesn't matter.
Acha.
The field does not matter.
Right.
When you want to find a mentor, you want to look for somebody who can see what your capabilities are and then maybe guide you, or somebody who can give you advice as and when you want. So more like, think of a mentor like a life coach. Life coaches are things that a lot of people don't appreciate, but life coaches are it's a career that I think is phenomenal. And a lot of these C-suite people that you see and a lot of these high-ranking people now have life coaches. So I think I was really impressed with my brother. My brother was younger than me but had a great career. So my first person to call every single time, even to this date, when I have a decision to make, is my brother.
Right.
He will really look at the decision. He will question me, cross-question me. And so I never thought my younger brother could be my biggest mentor, but he really is. I love him.
That's great.
And he's very honest with me, brutally honest with me.
You're very important, right, for a mentor, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's say I find this person, I ask them, okay, I think like something that has been consistent with my mentors is, it's very interesting, what I've been very lucky at is, I went to one of my mentors, 2014 mein, I asked them the same question. I had a different answer. 2017 mein, they gave me a different answer. 2019 mein, same sawal, but they gave me a very different answer. So like I think you're very right when you say this, कि अगर आप YouTube videos से कोई चीज़ देख रहे हैं, for example, तो you'll have the same advice every time you ask them, right?
Yes.
But when you've got somebody who you really look up to and they, like, you're probably kind of adding some value to their life by like listening to them and whatnot, So I think वो तो like mentors are like super crucial, right?
Yes, and you're growing, right? So they had different advice because they'll look at what you've done
Right.
over the past 3 years,
Right.
and they will do it.
And they'll give you a feedback which is palatable for you in 2014 and then which is palatable for you in 2016 and whatnot, right?
Yes. And those people have to be invested some way or form with you, right? So when you start out, it could be somebody in your family, it could even be a friend who's doing really well. You know, like I've reached out to my friends when I've hit a rough patch, and I've had many.
Right.
So like whoever thinks that I've had an easy life, I think I've had one of the toughest career lives. I've had many like ups and downs. And the one thing that I have done repeatedly is brush it off, get up, have a good cry, and then start again.
ठीक है.
Because life is going to be very difficult if you let it take you down. However, if you are constantly going at it and saying, okay, this is one thing, how much worse can it get?
Right.
Let's stand up again.
Right.
And for that, you know, if you have to take a hit in your career, which means you're at a very senior position and you have to take a dip, but it's a better company, it's better opportunity, take it.
Right. That ये
Take it.
I've told this to so many people,
Nobody
but I think ये
listens.
बहुत मुश्किल है.
Nobody listens.
It's माँ बाप भी नहीं करने देते, I think, right?
Yes.
माँ बाप भी नहीं करने देते, बहन भाई भी नहीं करने देंगे. Like I think all in good intention, right? मतलब वो
I think all in good intention, but I think like when I talk to my dad, he's the second person I call after
Right.
my brother. We're like poles apart in terms of how we think, right? So I'm making this decision. I'm moving away from Pakistan for a couple of months, starting January for an assignment. And you know, there's certain things I'm concerned about, and my dad seems to think I shouldn't be concerned about them. So I think sometimes parents have your best interest at heart, but things have moved on from
Right.
how things were. So when I use words like toxic, or I use words like, you know, this is not good for, in my opinion, for my career, but they see it as an improvement in your career. You know, you could get a very senior position versus a junior position. That's what I did recently. Not that I'd call my current position junior, but in comparison to what I was getting, I chose this particular one.
And that has been a constant theme in your life, right?
It has been.
Yes. Right. ठीक है.
But,
So
those
this-
are bets that I've won.
So it's, yeah, absolutely. So it's like this ability to like,
Yeah.
I don't know, take the risk of like वो जो सारा shenanigans होते हैं एक ज़बरदस्त job के, उनको छोड़ के betting on
Yes.
the newest or betting on the most exciting thing. I think that has been
I think
also a very important part of who you are.
सबसे बड़ी जो बात है ना, ego नहीं हो सकता आपका. So what happens is when you're in a senior position, you have this ego like, oh, I'm this person. And the other thing that Saab.
हाँ.
And what happens is as you grow in your role, you forget how to do a lot of the work. अपने हाथ
Right.
से, because you have this team, right? So my latest stint is I work for a company based out of Singapore, and you know, at Collabs I was COO.
Right.
And now I've taken a position that does not call me anywhere close to a COO. And I have to do a lot of things with my own hand. And I chose to do it because I think I was getting complacent.
Right.
And I was just telling people what to do. And yes, that's important. But God forbid if something happens. And if I have
Right,
to go
right,
back
right,
to it, do I have the ability or not? So I'm
Right.
really
So
enjoying
you hit a reset every 2 to 3 years in your life, right?
years.
Why do you do that? मतलब, so I get where you're coming from. मतलब I can resonate with this. लेकिन can you explain it to the audience कि ये करना क्यों इतना ज़रूरी है?
Humility, to stay humble, training yourself to be prepared for any situation in life, because anything can happen. You could lose a job, you could lose a lot of money, and then you have to go back to there. And thirdly, which is going to sound really weird to a lot of the audience, is it's really boring and lonely at the top.
No.
It's like, you know, you have to get work done from people. Not everyone's the same. And you're responsible for a certain function, you're responsible for a certain department, and you have to rely on people to do the work. And so it's not your work that counts, it's the collective work of these people that counts. And so sometimes it gets really frustrating. And for me, I like doing things with my own hand. So it gets
Even today.
100%. And I think even when I'm like, you know, I don't know, close to retirement, I'll be like, I like doing things with my own hand. It's just a certain feeling.
तो साहब कब बनेंगे फिर जिंदगी में? ये भी बताइए ना.
साहब बन के देख लिया ना. देखिए,
अच्छा,
I
ठीक
was the GM of Pakistan for Keep Truckin'.
Right.
I was the head of expansion for Kareem. I was the COO at Collabs. ये सारे
करके देख लिए
देख
सारे,
लिया.
हाँ.
और यहाँ पे भी इंशाल्लाह in a year or two साहब बन जाएंगे. इंशाल्लाह. नहीं बने तो कहीं और साहब बन जाएंगे.
हाँ.
लेकिन साहब बन के आपने बस ये देखना है कि are you fulfilling your potential. देखिए एक तो ये ना कि अच्छा आपने उठना है, आपने जॉब करनी है, फिर आपने प्रमोट होना है, फिर आपने इतने पैसे लेने, फिर आपने ये करना है. That's the trajectory of
Right.
life. But that's something that's been set up by somebody who thinks that they know what's right.
हाँ ठीक है.
I want to have fun. And so when I was asked to come start launching, I was so excited because I missed that part of my life. So I said yes, and I told the founder, Ramiz, that मैंने तो थोड़ा junior role ले लिया. He's like, no, I think this is the most important role. So don't go by title, go by the importance of the work.
Right.
And पाकिस्तान में सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम मुझे ये लगती है, जितने लोगों को इंटरव्यू किया, जितने बच्चों से बात की, because I hire a lot of young people. What will be my title is the second question after what will be the salary.
मेरे रिपोर्ट कौन कर रहा होगा?
How many people will have? Will I have a team? No, you're just starting out.
Absolutely.
And itani jaldi kya hai to grow up? Because you know what? 90% of the issues that you deal with as a manager or a senior manager or a CEO is people related.
Yeah, for sure.
Office nahi aa sakti, in dono ki aapas mein ladai hogi. I felt like a mother most of the time when I was managing at a large scale. So I'd much rather just have some fun.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. हाँ, kitni, like, so for everybody
Nobody's
listening.
going to agree with me.
No, I totally agree with you. But so everybody listening to this, I think like, I think कि ये mental shift करना बहुत important है कि यार जल्दी से जल्दी साहब बनना target नहीं है, right?
Yeah.
Just getting more and more like on ground ज़्यादा काम करना is the target, and then it's only a matter of time. Organically कोई ना कोई आपको they'll just put you at the top. When you're there, तो they'll just do that.
और दूसरा देखिए, it's very important to do the time. Why is it important to do the time? जब आप मैनेजर बनते हो, you're responsible for different people in your function, right? Different skill set. अगर आपको खुद ही नहीं आता, how many times have you said यार मेरे मैनेजर को तो कुछ पता ही नहीं है? You really want to be that manager.
तो ये वही लोग होते हैं ना जो कि फिर chasing that hierarchy first, तो फिर
100%.
Right.
Okay, I've worked with managers that did not have it all together, and it's very frustrating to work with somebody that you're reporting to that does not know what to do.
Right.
So अगर तो आपने मैनेजर बन के उन्हीं से काम करवाना है और उनका ही काम आगे जाना है, then what's the point of having a manager, right?
Right.
At least learn. So I'll say, chalo, you're 18, 19, 20, you just started your job. Give yourself 4 years. Chalo, 4 years tak na put in as much hard work as possible and then see how fast you go up.
Right.
But अगर आप join कर रहे हो और फिर आप कह रहे हो अच्छा मुझे manager foreign बनना है, अच्छा मैं promote नहीं हो रहा, let me switch to another job. Gen Z is all about switching.
Right.
You switch to another job. There's not a lot of trust. I've seen people join a company, whether it's Collabs, Keep Trucking or wherever else, and just leave in a few months.
Right, huh.
Or they'll just ask for unreasonable amount, knowing what the market thing is, which is fine. Value yourself, but at least look at whether I am capable of what I'm asking for. So a lot of people will get that position through, but they'll not be able to do it and then be
demoted or they'll have to switch or whatnot. Yeah, absolutely. Right, so an analogy that I give people who come to me, like, इस तरह की जब बात होती है तो analogy for me is कि, like, I think, like, being down in the trenches and doing the hard work is like kind of that springboard, right? जितनी देर आप वो कर रहे हैं ना, आप springboard compress कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? You do it for 4 years, it will propel you here, ठीक है? You do it for 6 months, it will propel you here, यहाँ तक पहुँचेंगे. फिर आपको एक और 3 महीने का springboard चाहिए जो आपको थोड़ा इस तरह कर लें. So I am such a huge fan of कि यार आप just keep compressing that springboard. और एक दिन वो organically आपको इतनी ऊपर पहुंचा देगा कि you like
100%. I've in my career never asked for a promotion. I remember at Kareem when I was offered a promotion, I was like, and it came with certain benefits. I was like, oh, are you sure you can afford it? Because I've worked for startup all my time, and I don't think I like when I talk about it now, I think how stupid was I कि मैं कह रही हूँ वो मुझे offer कर रहे हैं. I've also turned down a salary hike at one of the companies saying, I don't think I deserve it. Give it to whatever budget you have. Can you give it to, these people? And now it's not like I've always had money. It's just, I really believe that if you're a founder or if you aspire to be a founder, you'll realize how difficult it is. Money giving there, making sure everyone's getting the money, making sure you have enough budget to promote somebody that you want to retain. It's a really, really, really hard. So I think that we should all have founder mentality in our head, and we'll do that.
कैसे बनाए फाउंडर मेंटालिटी आपके ख्याल से?
मेरे ख्याल से आपको बस ये हमेशा सोचना चाहिए कि why put yourself in the other person's shoe all the time. तो अगर आपने promotion मांगी आपको नहीं मिली है, the first thing that somebody will say is किसी सिफारिशी को मिल गई है. There's 10,000 excuses that you will make if you don't get the promotion that you want. You lose a game. मैं आज कह रही थी, my team lost a game. I was like, umpiring के लिए थी. You know, those kind of things that we've trained ourselves to say. So what I started doing very early on was, if I wanted a promotion and I didn't get it, I sat down and thought, okay, what am I doing wrong? And then seeing myself from there, okay, this is what I did right, this is what I did wrong, maybe there. And then I would ask them very nicely.
Right.
Give me feedback. I think one of the biggest things that we lack in Pakistan, I feel, is this feedback culture.
Absolutely. हाँ, वो उसने तो मेरी बेइज्जती कर दी है, या नहीं उसने मुझे इसलिए कह दिया क्योंकि उसे मैं पसंद ही नहीं हूँ.
हम हर चीज़ की इतना excuse बना लेते हैं in our head. Sure. As people who are just starting out, just take that out. Be self-critical. And I don't mean like hate yourself, but always put yourself in other person's shoe. Here's I look at it. If I was the manager and I had myself in the team, what would I expect more?
ये तो empathy तो मतलब I think is so super critical and so much lacking, right?
It is.
कि मतलब लेकिन I think like I don't know ये genetic होता है या
No, I think you need parents like mine, because from a very early age I would go to school, I wouldn't get good marks, and I'd say, oh, the teacher doesn't like me, and my parents were like, the teacher can never be wrong. If my boss said anything, they would say the boss is not wrong, you're wrong. Right. And so I think हमारी ulti mentality यहाँ पे ऐसे है कि I've seen like kids get a lot of love and care, and saying हाँ तुम ठीक हो, उसका especially sons. And so I think we're raising them wrong as well.
You have a military parent. I have a military parent as well. So I can so totally relate to that, right? कि मतलब I think for everything is your fault वाली जो mentality है ना, I think that is so important in life. मतलब कि even if it is not.
To a certain degree, I think that makes you have to be very strong to get over it as well, because some people cannot handle it, right? So there's a fine line. But I've never been able to go up to my dad or mom and say it is the other person's fault. I remember I had a fight once. It wasn't my fault. That also turned into
आपकी गलती.
And I think that it took me a while to get over that as well, because then you start blaming yourself for everything. But it didn't ever make me think that I was better than anyone else. Or it didn't ever make me not to think, what could I have done better? Right. And so that's very, very important. And then, you know, there's a lot of pressure. So sometimes I blame parents a lot. I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know if I'll be that person. But, you know, you have to be an engineer. You have to be a doctor. You have to go to the best university. You have to go to the best school. You have to go abroad. उसकी तो वहाँ पे job लग गई है, तुम तो यहाँ पे हो, उसको तो इतने पैसे मिल रहे हैं, तुम तो यहाँ पे हो. So I think that kind of mentality forces kids to then go for their parents' dreams instead of their own. So I'd say go for your own dreams if you can.
Right, ठीक है, हाँ ठीक है, सही है, makes sense. I think वो दो चीज़ें हमने very very close topics discuss की. एक तो ये कि मतलब being kind of like I don't know, just excuse. I think excuses का कोई usage ही नहीं है शायद. In 2023 मेरे ख्याल से excuses का कोई usage नहीं है work आपके work पे, ठीक है, and like owning up. तो I think that is super important. और दूसरी बात वो यही कि आप अपनी ज़िंदगी जिए, किसी और की नहीं जिए. That is so important, right?
That is very important.
ठीक है, great. अच्छा मुझे बताएं
Now parents are gonna hate me.
अच्छा मुझे बताएं कि right, so we've talked about कि if somebody like aspires to be someone like you, तो उनको क्या चीज़ें common होनी चाहिए. So, but I would also want to talk about कि you've like if I look at your profile, even if we hadn't met yet, ठीक है, so I could very fairly say कि अगर मुझे पाकिस्तान के अंदर किसी बिजनेस को या मुझे मिडल ईस्ट के किसी बिजनेस को ग्रो करना है या एक्सपैंड करना है, तो यू विल बी प्रॉब्ली बी द टॉप 3 or 5 people that will come up in a LinkedIn search, या मतलब अगर मैं लोगों से रेफरेंस भी लूँगा. So you're kind of in a very small market there, like right? So मुझे पता है how did you मतलब ये organically इस तरह हुआ है, मतलब I'm sure you worked a lot for it, ठीक है, लेकिन what is the strategic part of it? कि did you like architect it, या ये या ये spontaneously ऐसे होता गया, like you started putting in the work, it started happening, one thing led to the other, so how did this happen?
So look, the expansion part started when I joined Careem. So when I joined Careem, what's important to note in my choices after Careem and before Careem, I was very much living a life that dependent on, I want to have a career in finance, I want to have like a really good company, I want to have this. Safe.
Huh.
And then Careem was a big risk. So I was earning 40,000 dirhams a month at a very senior position, which I don't even talk about anymore because I did it for 6 months. And before my probation ended, I switched to Careem. But I was comfortable there, right? They'd given me a car.
Right. Oh,
the petrol was paid.
ठीक है,
This is
सही
in Dubai. I was living the life in Dubai.
ठीक है.
But I was dead for-
Saab, you Saab, हाँ,
Saab.
ठीक है.
I was living the life. But I was dead from the inside. I didn't enjoy going to work.
Clock in,
The
clock
work-
out.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was really bad.
I get that.
That's why I don't want to mention it. But when I met Magnus of Careem first, and then I met Mudassir. And Mudassir is like my ultimate mentor and the person that I look up to. Like when he once asked me, who's your favorite, startup founder? And I said, you. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, no, you. I've read everyone. I read a lot. So I've read about everyone. You are it. But I met Magnus. And Magnus was asking me some logistics questions. And he said, how do you do these calculations? And at that time, because startup culture was not very big, this is back in 2013, right? So 10 years ago, I told him, I make these Excel sheets. And then that, like, I do clock in, clock out of the drivers because I was doing a lot of event logistics at that time. And he said, can I show you something? So we're sitting in the server room, which was like, either server pada hua tha.
ठीक है, सही है.
Our legs were like this. This is how I was interviewing at Careem. And so he came back and he showed me a dashboard that he'd built that automatically put in all the drivers' locations.
Punch in the numbers और वो calculations वगैरह जो आपने manually किया हुआ था.
जो मैं manually करती थी. But it wasn't the fact that he'd done this. It was the fact that he was super excited about it. And I was like, oh, this guy's so excited about work. He's in love with what he's done. And I've not had that ever in my life. I think the only time I felt that way was when I was on a horse or watching cricket. Previously before that, right? And so I said, I want to work here. And I met him, then I met Mudassir, 2 hours each. And I think as I was going down the elevator, they called me. They said, we want to offer you a job. We love you, but we can only pay you 6,000 dirhams. I have not said these numbers before, but I'm saying them now. So I like you. So it went from 40,000 dirhams a month to 6,000 dirhams, right? And I said, I'll take it. And they offered me a position in their call center. I said, I'll still take it. Because they said, as we grow, unki funding nahi abhi aayi thi, you'll grow as well.
ठीक है.
So I went into that company because I absolutely wanted to love the work. And in the first month, I was in love. And what's important to note, and this is coming to the expansion point, is I loved the company so much that I would do my call center job for the first 8 hours. My shift khatam hoti thi, I would go and tell Mudassir, what else can I do? He would literally have to push me out of the office. So I no, I'm serious. Like,
I get
it was so much fun. And I wanted to problem solve everything. So there was not a department that I was, except for sales, because I still can do sales. I was in every department. So by the time the expansion time came, I was one of maybe 2 people who knew each and everything.
Right.
How it worked.
Organization, institutional knowledge, like आपके पास सारी है.
I had it more than the founders. And they'll say too, there was a time when Mudassir used to say, this is our 4th founder, right? And he also said, like, if you cut Fatima, she'll bleed green because Careem was green.
Right.
So I knew everything. What happened was they told me to go be a GM in one of the countries, Kuwait. Unfortunately, I went to Kuwait and they said at that point in time, they were like against Pakistanis or something. Kuch hua tha. So Mudassir said, go launch Pakistan. I said, I don't want to. I don't want to go to Pakistan. I'd left Pakistan a while ago and I wasn't very passionate about Pakistan back then. And he said, well, I really need you to. So I kind of was pushed into this role and I did a really good job here. So he said, why don't you go launch other countries? And I still was hesitant. I was like, I don't know if this is what I want. But then after the second launch, it got exciting. Then after the third launch, it got more exciting. And then I kept launching and launching and launching. And so the most important thing was I knew Careem inside out. And why did I know Careem inside out?
Because you were obsessed.
Because I was obsessed.
Right. तो इसके अलावा और कोई तरीका नहीं है?
I mean, people do orchestrate their careers strategically as well, but if I was strategic, then I'd be doing strategy.
Right. हाँ, ये बात भी सही है.
No, but I also worked really, really hard and I was really interested.
So what I'm alluding to is कि मतलब so a lot of people are looking for smart ways / shortcuts as well. तो मतलब are there any shortcuts? होते हैं कोई?
I mean, the people who got shortcuts in life, I envy them because I've had to work very hard for each and every single thing that I've gotten. And it's not come easy and it's not come early. You know, there are people that have gotten so far ahead so early in life. And it's purely because of skill. Or maybe they didn't even do a shortcut, but maybe they had something extra.
You had to work really hard for it.
I just had to work 10x harder than anyone else. I have to work hard. I feel like, okay, I might be intelligent, but I think I don't have the kind of smarts that some people are naturally blessed with. Like, mashallah, my brother is super smart.
Right.
And some of my other friends. So I had to put in the work repeatedly. And now I don't have to put in as much work because, you know, in the beginning, if you put in the work,
it has compounded so much over the years.
It compounds. And there's a sweet spot when it starts compounding.
Right.
And you don't even realize it. But again, I started my job at the same time because I did a year after my brother. Because my brother didn't do a master's right away, I did. So we started at the same time. And I think I've changed my career about 11 times since I started.
Oh, acha.
Which is 2007 is when I started. And my brother's on his third job, right? So this is the kind of... So I started in finance. There was a kya tha, financial crisis.
Right. Those are hard.
I got into a company right after. The startup didn't work.
Right.
I got somewhere else. There was fraud in that company. The company shut down. So there's a lot of that. And so I had to try my hand at a lot of things. So when I started out, I thought I'd do PR. I wanted to do finance. So there's a lot of things that I wanted to do. But the one thing is, wherever I went, I gave it 120, I wouldn't say 100%. I gave some places 120%, some places 150%, and some places 200%.
Right.
And I didn't give up.
Right. And there's no other formula.
I mean, I can't really talk about it because I haven't felt it. But I feel like for me, there isn't. And at this stage as well, people do ask me why. Like, why are you giving so much work? Because I feel like if I don't work hard, I won't be the best, and I want to be the best. I want to be an asset to the company. If I'm not an asset to the company, I leave. If I'm no longer contributing or if I'm no longer good enough for the company,
right,
I will say I'm not contributing. I'll leave. I left a GM position at Keep Trucking, which paid so well because I felt like I wasn't contributing
right
as much as I should be, which people think I'm stupid.
Right.
But I want to be satisfied.
Right. Very good answer. I think I totally resonate with that. Like, मुझे पता है mindset आता कहाँ से? ये जो आपको mindset है, ठीक है, मतलब you've built it over the last 20-ish years.
Yeah.
ठीक है. ये mindset किसी और ने पैदा करने कैसे पैदा करें?
That has to come from within.
ये नहीं कि आपको ऊपर से मिलेगा, नहीं तो आप नहीं build कर सकते.
I think.
Is it a learnable skill?
It is, but you then have to not be scared of losing. Failure. Trying from scratch again, starting from zero again. Being able to stand up to people and say, fine, this is what I want. Standing in your peers and having the junior most role. Standing in your peers, making the least.
कितनी strength of character चाहिए या कितनी mental strength चाहिए इस काम के लिए?
I think there I would thank my mother and my father. My father and I fight sometimes, but my mother, because I'm of a certain age and I'm not married. I saw her answer people saying, this is her life. If she doesn't want to get married, this is it. And I saw her and I was like, you are remarkable.
Right.
Because in today's day and age, even if a girl is not married, the parents get a lot of slack. I don't know if they do anymore. But for them to stand up behind me and say, okay, this is what you want, that's it. And my brother saying, you know what, if you never want to get married, that's okay. I learned from them that people's opinions should not matter. And I can sit on this podcast now. If you'd asked me 2 years ago, I couldn't sit here and say that.
Acha.
It takes a lot of work to say your opinion does not matter. Your opinion of me is talking about what you think about yourself or
Right.
how you think of your life. There are 5 people whose opinions should matter in your life. That's
Acha.
your family, your current boss, and maybe your partner. That's it. Anyone else is just noise.
Oh, wow.
It should not matter to you, but it takes a lot of hard work to get there.
For sure. Even if आप face value पे कह भी दे कि यार मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता, deep down inside it does matter to you, and it takes a lot of
Yes.
time to kind of like mute that out, right?
Like Babar Azam said, honestly, ab mujhe farak nahi padta. But I spent my life, so I regret all parts of my life
Right.
where I gave so much importance to all those people that had negative things to say. I would take away all the positive, throw it in the garbage, and just focus on things. There are parts of my career in the beginning where I took positions because I just wanted to be able to show off and say, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
Now it does not matter.
Right.
Look, as long as the people that I'm working with are enjoyable, I have a faith in the founders that I'm working for, and I make enough that I'm happy, nothing else matters.
Right.
And but
वो 5 लोग important है, बस उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं
parts look important.
That's very insightful.
But it takes a while.
Oh, for sure.
And it takes a lot of sleepless nights, crying, self-doubt. But I think self-doubt, so I've also started getting very close to religion very recently, and I think that's the most positive change in my life. Self-doubt there is also haram, right? Like, there's a fine line between self-doubt and criticism, self-criticism.
Right.
So I have a lot of criticism on my work, if I produce something, if I play something, or if I write something. But I need to make it constructive. So then I make it constructive.
Right.
That's where the people whose opinion matters, I will listen to.
Right. Makes sense. Very interesting. Zabardast.
But again, this is a lot of hard work because...
And we're talking
That's the thing.
decades,
This is decades.
not years.
I'm just saying, even if 2 years ago,
Right.
you would have asked me to this podcast, I would have thought, who am I? And I said that to you as well. I said, are your listeners going to be interested in hearing from me, right? That's the first question I had.
Right.
And that self-doubt crept in for a bit, or then imposter syndrome that women have, and a lot of other people have.
Right.
But I think my podcast with Muzammal was a couple of years ago, and there were some negative comments. They really upset me, and everyone said, okay, why don't you look at the hundreds of positives? And I'm like, no, I'm going to focus on the negatives.
Uh-huh.
So you've got to do the self-work. In the end, it's you and your family. That's all you've got.
Right.
And Allah.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'm going to switch gears a little bit now. ठीक है. I think काफी ज़्यादा deep हो गया.
ज़्यादा deep.
अच्छा, मुझे बताएं कि so we're a services company, ठीक है. I've been working in services companies throughout my career. हम services companies का बिल्कुल totally different DNA होता है, I think, from product companies. I don't know if you've had experience of working with services companies. I mean, to some extent, like Collabs is probably a productized service company.
So I'll tell you, I've
in that
worked
sense,
in
right?
services company my whole career, and I'll explain how. But
अच्छा,
go ahead.
ठीक है, सही है,
Ask your
right.
question.
So the thing that I want to get to is कि so services companies का kind of एक अपना inertia होता है, right? So they're not very risk averse. उनका थोड़ा safe खेलने वाला होता है, and like the team also is constituted in that sense कि यार we need more stability and more safe rather than riskier, ठीक है?
Yeah.
And then you've got like product companies on the other end of the spectrum जो कहते हैं कि यार चलो ठीक है, move fast and break things, crazy चीज़ें करके देखते हैं, नहीं होता तो देखी जाएगी, पता नहीं है 6 महीने बाद कंपनी होगी या नहीं होगी, लेकिन ठीक है, let's just pull through. तो like what are the key differences between these two institutions, these two groups of people in your experience?
I think if you call a product company, that's going to be a recipe for disaster.
Acha.
Because, look, my first startup that I worked for was Kareem. There was a product. The product was this tech that we built so that we could service people to live their best lives, right? So we were customer first. The product that we made was made keeping the customer end user in mind. So that's the service industry.
Right.
We were 24/7, and everything revolved around how are we going to make this customer happy, right? So what you can do there is we keep a very close interaction between the customers and ourselves, right? Whether it's surveys, whether it's talking to them. So you can keep reiterating the product and you can keep reiterating the product to make it better. This is the risky part of it, but you can get customers' insights into it. The second company was Keep Trucking. We were working for truckers. So, and Collabs, of course, was a service industry, but right now at Circles, we're a digital telco. So again, the customer is at the end. So I think that maybe the difference is a traditional services company versus a tech services company, right?
No, so we're a tech services company. Like we develop software for customer. America में, Europe में सब में काम करते हैं, right? But like the product leadership and like the product owners bhi and the direction of the whatever software we build, that comes from our customers.
Yes.
ठीक है? It's just के मतलब, and of course like in Kareem's case as well, that comes from end customers, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is ke like that you've got people on this one side who kind of like talk to these product owners और इनसे बात करते हैं, they वो कहते हैं यार हमारा ये problem है इससे solve करने दें, and we solve that problem for them.
Yes.
But then you've got this product company who says कि यार ये problem पहले कभी भी नहीं solve हुई, let's just do that. So I think कि मतलब we're talking about different things in that sense.
Yeah. So I think, look, for those kind of companies, you need to have crazy founders. I found that founders are like the craziest people ever, right?
Right.
They have a dream and they have to follow the dream. So why can they take risk? Because it's venture capital money. Why can they take risk? Because they are taking money from somewhere else. I'm not saying that makes them irresponsible. Like the founders that I've worked with have treated VC money with a lot of care. But you have to understand that the money that's coming in, the investors that are putting money into you know that it's a 50-50. Maybe
right.
like,
or maybe 90-10, right?
Even if 90-10. So if you're not taking risk, you're not even going to get the money. So the risk taking is there. And it's not people's own money. Sometimes it is. Sometimes, you bootstrap and then you get money.
Yeah, but 95% of the time it's not.
95% of the time it's that. So I think the risk-taking ability comes from the fact that you've got these investors who are saying, okay, go.
It's okay to take risks. It's okay to fail.
Show me a $1 billion valuation that requires risks and stuff. So that's why it's different. I think it's where the money is coming
and in
from.
terms of like, so ठीक है, say I get that, ठीक है. So and then of course like founders DNA then trickle down to the whole team and like सारों का फिर वही है कि यार ठीक है, crazy ambition है और इसको chase करना है. Is it just that कि crazy founders हैं और उनका एक crazy vision है जिसको वो पूरी organization में diffuse कर रहे हैं and then everybody believes in that, or is it also other things? Like
I think it starts.
Are the foot soldiers any different? Is I don't know the CMO any different? Like वो CMOs different तरीके से सोचते हैं. तो
I think देखें CMOs को different तरीके से सोचना पड़ता है. I think it's all triggered by the fact that venture capital money, and I'm talking particularly about venture capital, is going to come to you because you've promised them a $1 billion valuation in 5 years.
Right.
This is the stats. Maybe it's a little bit less, it's a little bit there. Then when you come in there, so if there's a CMO, he's told you need to keep hitting this growth like 40x.
Right.
40x.
और तुम्हारे पास ये cash है इसके लिए.
This is the cash that you have to be creative with it. And then you're picking out these people, right? So hiring into a startup is very different from traditional hiring. You're looking at what these people are capable of. You're testing them on what they're capable of. And day in, day out, it's ingrained in them. We need to grow every day. We need to grow every day. We need to grow every day.
Right.
And so a startup success for me depends on, one, how great your investors are in terms of what their vision is, how risk averse your founders are, and then the team that they've built. Because none of these founders would have been successful if they hadn't gotten some crazy people. Like if you look at the early stage people of Kareem, they're insane people.
Right. Freaks होंगे.
They are freaks because they gave up these like crazy salaries to come work here.
Right.
And they would work like 20 hours a day and still be on top of it the next day, right? So how lucky are you in hiring those people? And yes, we're told from day one that this is how much we need to grow. And if the growth goes down, then, changes have to be made. So
like,
it is ingrained in their DNA.
Your life is always on the line, और वो मतलब like kind of survival instinct, primal instinct आपका जो है वो चल रहा है.
It's never boring. You
can't
have
it's also scary as well. लेकिन ठीक है, मतलब that if that gets the growth, right?
It's really scary, and I think that the chances of a startup doing well are also like they say like 90% of the startups die in the first like 6 months because all these issues. But I think if you know how to pick pick them, be lucky. And I think that, it is really important that if you want to go into a startup, that you know that it's a lot of hard work for relatively less money compared to like an MNC in Pakistan will be able to give you, but the long-term results are really, really good.
Right.
For a Kareem, so eventually you want a company to exit, right? You exit and the employees make money because they have shares in the company.
ठीक है.
So I got lucky with a couple of companies.
Yeah, I'm sure. Great. Zabardast, I think, yeah, very spot on. And अच्छा ठीक है, सही है. So what I want to get to next is कि like ठीक है, for somebody listening to this, वो बैठे हैं, उसे देख रहे हैं, they're, I don't know, studying bachelors at a university in Pakistan, या वो OA levels कर रहे हैं, metric FSC कर रहे हैं. They're looking at you, they understand your all the crazy stuff that you've done. They're really happy about it. They aspire to be like you. ठीक है. लेकिन I really want to debunk this. They might also think कि फातिमा आपके पास तो इतनी privilege थी. ठीक है. तो यार ये तो मेरे पास तो privilege नहीं है, तो मैं तो नहीं ये कर सकता. This is for somebody else जिसके पास ये privilege है. How would you like, do you have people come up to you and say that? Yeah, if you're advising somebody, तो कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जो आपको ये कहते हैं कि यार आपको तो privilege थी. Like I've got people to come to me and say this कि यार मतलब ठीक है, you got privilege, that's why you're here. Like I literally had somebody come to me and say कि यार क्योंकि आपके फादर साहब आर्मी में ना इसलिए आप ये कर सकें.
Which I don't.
So like
never kind of understood.
हाँ.
Look, privilege. ठीक है, even if I did, which I'm not going to say I didn't or did. I said it once, but there's a lot of people with a lot more privilege than me. And I grew up looking at these people, right? And I don't understand how they say that army people have privilege because I don't get it. Yes, I had a good cantonment life and I was able to ride horses much cheaper than anyone else.
Right.
But I don't see the other advantage or privilege that they talk about. I went abroad because I got a scholarship.
Right.
I worked really hard. So here's what's very important for people who are watching this or are still in school. I was very interested in sports, so I didn't take studies seriously. When I got 2 A's and 4 B's in O-levels, it was senior Cambridge then because I'm that old. My parents were so excited. They like mithai banti everywhere. कि हमारी बेटी pass हो गई है. We didn't think so.
Right.
A-levels, I jumped into it without really thinking, and I got 3 D's. 3 D's is what I got, right?
ठीक है.
So maybe
अब
the
तो
privilege
मिठाई
was...
नहीं.
अब तो बड़ा अफसोस हुआ
ठीक है,
था.
सही.
But pass तो होगी ना.
Right.
But maybe the privilege was that, I could do A-levels. But that privilege also was, they don't know how my parents pay for it. It wasn't because of the army. Like, how much does army pay you? I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand.
Right. The army is just like this one example. Because I've had people say this to me, right? So yeah. It could be army, it could be something else, right?
But I want to really understand that. Because what privilege does...
हमारे घर में तो 2012 तक शायद carpet भी नहीं था. मतलब, to be honest, like...
The way that I lived back then, like, I went to Murray to check out the house that I lived in. It was like literally a box. And I was like, this is where we lived. And my parents like, yeah, and we used to have guests all over. So I don't know where that comes from because, maybe if my dad had become a general, then maybe there's more privilege. But my dad retired as a brigadier. And before he retired, I'd gotten a scholarship to go abroad based on the grades that I got. I did so poorly in A-levels that's when I wanted to change my life around, right? So I got into NUST by studying really hard for the NUST test. And then I studied at NUST. And then I applied abroad just by fluke. And I got a scholarship.
Right.
Right. And so the rest of it wasn't. And my nani nanas helped out, like not my father, because he couldn't. In the army, how much money can you make? Like, I don't get it. So, no, I did not have privilege. I mean, maybe the privilege was that my parents worked really hard to make sure that I went to Beacon House. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Right.
Other than that, no. My dad didn't help me get a job. He said from start that I will not be able to help you get a job. And plus I was working in, my first job was in Dubai. I didn't get an H1 in the US. So I had to leave US and come. He wasn't able to help me get admission. I had to work. And back then people didn't even know how to get admission abroad, right? So I went on one scholarship and then I went on another scholarship to study.
Right.
And whatever else was left over was, our family helped out.
Scholarship तो privilege से नहीं मिलती ना, right? वो तो पढ़ के ही मिलती है मेरे से.
Yeah, my GPA was a 3.92 out of 4
उधर तो नहीं
in
चलता.
last. So that's why I was able to get a scholarship at Washington College, which many people don't know about, because it's a smaller college. So that's how I went abroad. So after that, when I came to Dubai, my dad said, I can't help you get a job. So I struggled to get a job. It took me 6 months. And from there onwards, then I made my way by myself. My dad also said, I will not buy you a car. Buy it yourself. And, like a lot of people in college that I went to had cars and I didn't. And I'm not saying that that's a sad thing. I'm just saying that privilege is a lot different. Privilege is when your parents can say, okay, yes, we can send you abroad and we have the money to send you abroad. And then you get that. But if you work hard and if you get a scholarship, which my brother did as well, by the way, he had 4 A's in O-levels and got in without having to give his A-levels. So there's a trajectory to how we got there. And then I worked as a call center agent. In school, I worked for 4 years. So did my brother.
Achha.
So that we could have enough money to work. You're allowed 20 hours. So throughout college and grad school, we worked, and that's how we got money because, it's really expensive. And then I went through all these jobs. Like when I finished my finance job, I was laid off because financial crisis. I worked as an intern for another 6 months before I was made. So a lot of these things. If you're saying, yes, your dad was able to support you for the 6 months that you were not working, yes, maybe that's privilege. But there...
नहीं, I think मतलब इतना किसी के भी parents कर लेते हैं, right? नहीं?
I don't know. Maybe that's privilege, right? So there's times when I've walked out of a job when I'm not happy there.
Maybe that
pressure is not there, so that's privilege. But I think we should be very careful about the word privilege. And you know what? Every parent, no matter what stage they're at, what they can do, will try to give you privilege because that's their job. So let's not make excuses again. Let's not make those excuses. Everyone has their own circumstance. Everyone has their own path. Everyone's going to have their own light. I'm not saying that you have to go abroad. I think some of the best people that we hired in Kareem that eventually ended up starting here and then moving to Dubai and some of them to Berlin were people that studied here. But they got into Kareem, worked really hard and made their way up and are in Berlin, and I'm in Pakistan. So if I had privilege, wouldn't I be in Berlin? I don't know. So you just have to realize that, okay, there are people that are going to have privilege. There are people that can be way more they'll have. You focus on yourself. Focus on your journey.
आप अपने circumstances पे देखें ना.
Yeah.
Right. And I also think like this is also this other side to this coin as well, right?
Yeah.
कि privilege के साथ then you've got access to a lot more distractions. You've got access to a lot more, I don't know, for lack of a better word, crappy friends. And then you've got, I don't know, like a lot more exposure to a lot more extracurricular activities as well, right? So उसके साथ तो वो भी उसके साथ आता है.
बिल्कुल. And have you thought of the pressure that is like, without naming names, I've had friends that are what you call privileged in the sense that, they've, their parents have their own businesses, so they go to really good schools and then they have to come back and then they have to take over that business. Maybe they don't want to, and some of them don't, but they have to come back.
Right.
Maybe they want to work somewhere else, but they have to come back. Everyone has a difficult journey, regardless of what they have. You have money, you have a difficult journey. You don't have money, you have a difficult journey. So if we start off with saying, okay, this person has this, that's why they're up there, stop. You don't know.
You've lost it. You lost the battle right there and then.
See what you can do and see that my plan was to stay in Pakistan, study in Pakistan, and get married eventually, right? And that's not how my journey was supposed to be written.
Right.
And whoever's privileged, whoever's not privileged, you have to understand that your journey is already written for you. Just strive towards it.
Right.
And
I also think if you let your life be on autopilot and not apply to that school and whatnot, so maybe that would have been your eventuality. So taking charge is also really important, right?
You do have to take charge.
क्योंकि जब privilege होती है ना तो फिर इतना pressure ही नहीं होता charge लेने का, right?
बिल्कुल.
तो वो होती है कि यार बस ठीक है सब set है ना ज़्यादा क्या ही हो जाएगा.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that also is kind of strength of character in that sense कि यार even with that, I don't know, safety net for 6 months that we've talked about, then getting out of bed, getting your stuff shit together and then taking that, get 10,000 meal do jaake karna. I think वो like different challenges. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But sorry, go on.
No, and for me, I've seen that people get really like, there's like hatred for people, there's like all sorts of maybe envy, there's jealousy, there's judgment, and that just consumes you. It doesn't consume the other person. They're living their life.
Just
going up where they're going to do it. And you think that just because somebody's journey looks great, that they've had an easy time. There's so many things that you don't know about. So be thankful for what you have and be thankful for the journey that you're on, because you definitely don't know what's happening in other people's lives.
Right.
And just because they have privilege doesn't mean that they are doing what they really want to do. Trust me on that.
I definitely get that. And so, if I were to ask you a yes or no question, ठीक है, अगर किसी के पास like they've got like nothing, close to nothing, ठीक है, so do you still think they can work their way upwards?
A big yes, and they would have a lot. उनके पास ज़्यादा reasons हैं to work hard. उनके पास ज़्यादा aspirations हैं, ज़्यादा dreams हैं to work hard. I think that जिसके पास सब कुछ है ना, वो कितना ही motivate होगा.
Right. वो hunger नहीं होगी उतनी ज़्यादा, right?
The hunger is what drives you. And so if nothing else, it's the hunger to grow.
Yeah, get that.
And
while we're on the topic of hunger, थोड़ा segue है. So while we're on the topic of hunger, do you think, have you seen, what do you think about hunger in Gen Z? Like, do you think it has gone down? Do you feel like it's the same? Like, I think you had a lot more people than I do.
I don't want to piss them off.
नहीं,
but no,
मुझे
मुझे इतना नहीं दिख रहा है. I think
hunger नहीं दिख रहा है या change नहीं दिख रहा है?
Hunger नहीं दिख रहा है.
Right.
Relaxed है.
Chill
है. But maybe we don't know if that's the right thing or not, right? Maybe हम ज़्यादा were too
upbeat or full anxiety में, full like
they're living their lives. And you know, the thing I like about them is कि अच्छा हमने ये काम करना है, ये काम हमने नहीं करना है.
Right.
हमने इधर ज्वाइन करना है, अच्छा इधर पसंद नहीं है, चलो कहीं और चले जाए.
ये घर से दूर है, उधर नहीं आना मैंने.
Yes. मुझे ये setup पसंद नहीं आया. Office किधर है? The number of times I've got asked office किधर है when I was hiring for some roles. And I get it. Transportation could be an issue. Office कैसा है? What laptop am I going to get? That question drives me absolutely insane. I don't know how that matters. But these kind of questions, I think I admire them because they seem to know what they want and they go after it. So hunger, maybe not for success, but hunger for, we know what we want and we want to do it this way. And we can stand up to our parents and we can stand up to our bosses and we can stand up to this. So I kind of envy them a little bit.
Hunger is one thing.
Yeah.
And being happy on a half stomach is another.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe so, being happy on a half stomach.
What is it?
Happiness is very hard to get, right?
So strictly talking about hunger, do you think hunger थोड़ी कम इसलिए है because they've seen us millennials कि यार ये इन्होंने करके क्या कर लिया, तो अब हम ये try करते हैं. Do you think it's that?
I think they've seen us, they've seen their parents work their whole lives for what, right? A lot of these people are working so they can save up for their daughter's wedding or their son's wedding or his or their. Right. So they haven't seen people they haven't seen their parents live.
Right.
They haven't seen us really live.
Right.
What's our life? Go to work. Weekend पे थोड़ा time मिल जाए. Startup में काम करो तो weekend पे भी time ना मिले. No time for our hobbies. No time for our interests.
Right.
I think they're the better generation. They know what they want. They'll make time for themselves. Maybe work at. Who defines?
Again, how does
it has to be this?
But then, how does shit get done? Like who? That's right.
I think eventually they'll realize. I think that as millennials kind of fade out of the job system, maybe they'll realize. But maybe that's the way to do things. I don't know what's the right way, but they seem happier than we were at that age.
Sure.
मुझे तो लगता है, I don't know if it's right or not, but the hunger to be the best, work hard, be on time, be disciplined, I don't see a lot of it.
Right.
Maybe in Lahore and Islamabad. That's where
Definitely. I concur. Definitely, like my experience was the same. Sure.
you guys are amazing.
Right.
I do envy you.
हाँ ठीक है ज़बरदस्त है अच्छा ठीक है so like I think we've talked about quite a lot right और मतलब I'm really happy we had this conversation to be honest so I'll kind of like come to a very overarching theme in your life के like I don't know how it is for a woman to do what you've done so like I literally get comments like comment section में like I remember there's somebody who commented कि जी मुझे बताएं कि मैंने अभी ग्रेजुएट किया और मेरा 3.8 GPA है लेकिन ना मैं जॉब नहीं कर सकती तो मुझे बताएं मुझे रिमोट जॉब मिल जाएगी पहली एंड आई वाज लाइक कि जॉब क्यों नहीं कर सकती मेरे पेरेंट्स अलाउ नहीं करते कि मैं बड़े शहर में आऊँ क्योंकि मैंने छोटे शहर से किया अनदर पर्सन सेड कि जी मुझे बताएं कि मुझे आपकी सारी बात समझ आ रही है टॉकिंग अबाउट सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग यू टॉकिंग अबाउट अ करियर लेकिन हाउ हार्ड इज़ इट फॉर अ गर्ल विद अ हिजाब to do what you've done like I want to start my company like I am a girl with hijab so how hard would it be for me ye comments section like this is the comment section of our channel so can you speak to it a little bit I don't want it to be very I don't want it to be very discouraging as well like I want it to be very real like
look it's hard I think it's really hard I've spoken to a lot of parents I've spoken to girls that have worked with me to their parents. Okay, you need to let your girls work. But then again, can I really blame them for not letting? I don't know. Like, here's my most honest comment that I'll give you. If I had a daughter and she wanted to work in Pakistan, I don't quite know if I'd be comfortable with that. So, and I'm being very honest because look, there are things that happen at the workplace. There are things that are difficult for women. There is harassment. It is still there. Even after the Me Too movement is still there. It's blatant. And it's not... Ab thodi si behtar ho rahi hai, but it is still there, right? So that's number one. So I don't blame the parents. But then also, on the other hand, if my parents hadn't been that amazing, that said, you are going to work. From day one, I knew I was going to work.
Okay.
There was no question about it. When I said I wanted to work in certain areas, even if they weren't happy, they said, go try it out, right? And I did face a lot of things. But because of my mom's character and my mom's strength, I think she's one of the strongest women I know. I was able to go out there and just hold my own.
Right.
But it was tough. I had this way of listening to certain harassment happening and make it into a joke, or be like, you're gonna say that to me? Like I'm such a tomboy. I'm like a boy. What are you talking about? I'm like your sister.
Yeah, okay, defense mechanism.
A lot of defense mechanism comes in, and you have to be really strong. But that was for a little bit, and then I made a reputation for myself, and I was able to stick around.
Yeah,
it's no go. Bol deti. I think that, but that shouldn't be the case, right? Now, let me also make one of the biggest claims I'm going to make. If I was married and had kids, I would not have the career that I do. There is no way that I would be allowed to travel to 100 cities across Middle East and Africa, be gone for months. I'm moving to Mexico.
Nobody would sign up for that. Very less people would sign up for that.
So, I made a choice a long time ago.
Right.
I don't know if I regret the choice. For right now, I'm fine. But maybe in a couple of years, I regret the choice. But as a woman, I think that even if I had a partner and no kids, he'd be like, what do you mean you're going out for like...
Right.
So I'm moving to Mexico for about 6 months in January.
Right.
Who can just pick up and move to Mexico? We're trying to find other people in my company to do that. And somebody has a young daughter. Somebody has like a partner who's saying, no, I can't be away for 6 months. Like it's a really far away. It's this and that. So as a woman, it's
an either or, right?
It's an either or.
It cannot be both of those things, right?
I mean, some women have made it work. So if you were to ask me who my role models are, women that have worked for as long as they have, having kids, raised them beautifully, and still worked. My heroes.
Champions.
My heroes. My sister's autistic, and my mother had gone away, so I was staying with my sister. She's autistic, and I couldn't go to work, even though she was taken care of. Like, people at the house, I was like, I can't leave her. So that's my sister. My nieces also, I'm very protective of them. I have 2 beautiful nieces. My brother has 2 daughters. I don't know if I could leave them and then enjoy work if they were in my care.
Right.
So I think we are at a disadvantage already. Maternal instincts, societal expectations, that guilt of being a mother that's working. I've seen that in some of my friends.
Yes.
So all of that is what we do to ourselves, or the society does to us.
Right.
But then again, at work as well, there are certain things where, I've heard, oh, she's not married, promote her. Oh, she doesn't have kids, promote her. I don't quite know if that would be the same thing if I was married or had kids.
Or a guy.
If I was a guy, I'd be in a much senior position.
Right.
Yeah.
ठीक है. Right. काफी
Honest हो गया.
I think हाँ ज़्यादा right नहीं लेकिन I think it's really important to like straight from the horse's mouth. I think बड़ा important होता है, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I cannot.
But it's not discouraging because there are certain roles. So
There's you.
Yeah, but you can't take maybe the head of expansion role and say I'm going to expand.
Right.
But there are roles that are available, and women are doing a really, really good job at it. If you can balance that, and I think like in Pakistan, daycare should become more of a thing. There are certain companies that have great daycares inside the office, and as a benefit to all the employees that are listening, that benefit is one of the biggest ones you can give your people. Have kids at the office when parents can see them.
Right.
And there are some amazing women that have done amazing work.
Right.
With all of that.
And you cannot make Pakistan work if you don't add Khwateen to the workforce, I think.
100%. And there are some extremely smart Pakistani women. Oh my God.
Yep.
I was shocked. I think the most talented women that I worked with, and I've worked in a lot of places, are Pakistani women. It's just, please give them a chance. Please let them work. Please understand that women wanting to work is a good thing for our economy, for yourselves. And I don't think...
For them as well.
For them as well. For their mental health as well. For the husband's mental health or parents' mental health as well.
Right.
It's very good. And it's better for our economy. And it's better for you economically as well. I don't know with the way things are, how you can even survive as a one-income household. It is near impossible. So let them go into the workplace. And let them be financially literate. कुछ समझ आना चाहिए पैसा कैसे बनता है, कैसे खर्च होता है, और कितना मुश्किल है जब खर्च होता है. Because then the pressure is all on guys if they're making it and they're spending it.
Right.
समझ भी नहीं आती है.
Right.
It's very important. Right. It's the 21st century, guys. Come on.
Right. Great.
Parents.
I think like we've got like very interesting hot takes from you in this, right? So and like I agree to most of them, to be honest. Like
which one do you disagree with?
Yeah, we'll talk about that after this. Right.
No,
So
you can say it on camera.
इसके अलावा कौन से मतलब what are other things that you're passionate about? Like, do you have any other hot takes like कि यार ये yeah, ठीक है.
Pakistan cricket. I'm very passionate about the Pakistan cricket team. And yes, we lost the World Cup, and yes, I cried. But I think that this team is an amazing team. And I think that what we need to realize as a country is that we need to support them. And
तुम जीत तो यार हो, हमें तुमसे प्यार है.
प्यार खैर ना हो बेशक, लेकिन हमें देखना चाहिए कि अगर
गालियां नहीं देंगे.
See, when you're working, right? There's a team. If the team doesn't perform well, you will look at all other things. Were they supported? Were they trained properly? Were they given the best opportunity to succeed as a team? Or were they just thrown in the back end and said, okay, you handle it. And now if you don't do well, we'll fire the whole team. No.
Right.
बली का बकरा जो है ना, आपने कैप्टन को नहीं बनाना टीम का, आपने उसको बनाना है जिसने कहा था ये टीम काम करेगी और उसने कुछ आगे नहीं किया. So, zakas trust. And the other thing I'm passionate about is polo. I play polo. मुझे बचपन से राइडिंग का शौक था, but I couldn't afford polo for a very long time. So I worked very hard to be at a stage where I could self-sustain polo. So no privilege. My father said there's absolutely no way I'm paying for polo. And he couldn't afford to anyway.
It's very, very expensive sport, right?
Yes, and that's why you have to work 20 odd years to do it. And I think I still work as hard as I do. because I want to be able to sustain my habit. It is difficult though, but it is really a passion, and I'm very passionate about these two sports, cricket and my cricketers. Nobody should say anything against them. I will fight with you on Twitter and Facebook, which my dad doesn't appreciate at all.
Right, great. Okay, I think we're towards the end of this conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to share with, like, you've got roughly, I don't know, 20,000 people listening to you right now. So yeah, anything else you'd just like to, no, not like, this is not like, yeah.
Freaked out.
No, so basically, like, I think like, so when I was graduating, तो मेरे पास तो कोई भी नहीं था जो बता सकता था कि यार तुम ये सॉफ्टवेयर पढ़ लो तो जो है ना कुछ बन जाएगा जिंदगी में. So it's like the whole purpose of the channel is to just be that person for somebody else. ठीक है? So you've got like
amazing.
those people listening to you. Yeah. So मैं तो literally software engineering पे by stroke of luck था. By degree I'm not a software engineer. ठीक है?
Oh.
Yeah. So like you've got those kinds of people listening to you. So is there anything else you'd like to just talk
I'd just like to tell them that don't freak out. Life has a way of working itself out. Learn what you're passionate about and figure out what you want to do. If you haven't figured it out, don't worry. I still haven't figured out what I really want to do with life. I take it as it comes. Enjoy your student years. They're never going to come back. Life's going to be one big mess after you graduate, not to like put you down, but it's never going to get as good as it does in university. Enjoy your education. Don't think of it as a burden. Learn and don't take pressure because it will eventually work itself out.
Right.
However, just always have some goals and always have some things that you aspire to and see how your career can take you there. Also, start exercising as soon as possible. The best medicine for any depression, sickness, bad days, good days, stress is exercising. Go to a gym. Don't wait till you're fat. Don't wait till you're overweight. And pick up a hobby. It is very important. So anyone that I interview, I want to know if they have a hobby.
Right.
Because when you're passionate about a hobby, you will plan your day in such a way that you can take time for and so you'll be more organized and disciplined. But start your day with a workout or end your day with a workout. You'll be happier for it. And I wish somebody told me that. I picked up going to the gym a lot later because I was like skinny going up. Now I'm like very strong, but it took me a while to get there. And please just don't chase after a role or a position or a SAHAB. Go after what makes you happy and you enjoy it. You'll like yourself go to heights that you never thought possible.
Right. Thank you so much for these amazing insights, Fatima. I really had a lot of fun recording this. And with that, thank you so much for listening to this episode. और अगर आप अभी तक देख रहे हैं तो आप नीचे if you want to work with me तो आप नीचे दिए गए लिंक पे जाके अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. And if you qualify, we'd be happy to interview you. उसके अलावा you can join our community. नीचे Facebook और WhatsApp दोनों communities के links दिए गए हैं. You can join them. And we'll also like definitely add in your LinkedIn if somebody wants to reach out to you. So they can definitely do that on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for watching this again and have a good day.
Thank you.